The murderous perpetrator of last week's London terror attack has now been identified in the press as a man born in England. The BBC, ABC, Reuters, and the New York Times, a former newspaper, all headlined the fact that the terrorist was a native of the UK. The Kent-born UK native Englishman is named Khalid Massoud, an old Anglo-Saxon name meaning Allah will destroy every unbeliever, which is what they used to say back in Anglo-Saxon times. The savage act of violence by this British-born British man from Britain raises some questions. Are the British naturally violent? And what was it in particular that moved this Englishman from England to commit such a brutal act on his fellow Englishman? Was it something in the fish and chips that set off a bizarre chemical reaction in Mr. Massoud's brain and caused him to turn away from watching football on the telly in order to murder his fellow Westerners in the name of Allah? Was he just sick and tired of wearing a derby and carrying an umbrella all the time? Or saying silly-sounding British things like what ho, or dash it all, or Allahu Akbar? Or was he inspired to violence by some particularly triggering episode of Downton Abbey, or the latest BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice? In fact, we may never know this UK-born British Englishman's peculiarly Anglican motive for this British act of English savagery. Now, I don't want to stir up any anti-English feeling here for all the violence committed by UK-born British Englishmen like Mr. Massoud. I'm sure there are practically dozens of peaceful, hard-working English men and women who simply want to raise their families and do their jobs and attend their houses of worship to pray to the God of love, or possibly the hate-filled warrior God who commands us to destroy everyone who doesn't believe in him. I always get those two gods confused. I think it would be a shame if this isolated act of terrorism by a lone wolf English-born Englishman should cause an uptick in incidents of Anglophobia, or cause anyone to view a UK-born Briton with suspicion when he's simply sitting harmlessly in the local pub, enjoying a pint and reading the Koran while strapped with dynamite. Now, you may say, well, if we can't examine what turns so many Englishmen into terrorists, how will we ever stop them from committing their English acts of terror? Shouldn't we be asking, what is it about reading Shakespeare, Milton, Charles Dickens, and Harry Potter that has created that peculiarly English outlook on life that leads to poverty, oppression, brutality, and terror everywhere it arises? If we just turn a blind eye to English terror, won't we all ultimately be conquered by England and forced to live under Magna Carta while speaking in funny, sort of gay-sounding accents? But I say, let's try and coexist. Let's reach out to our English neighbors in friendship and understanding. Just steer clear of the Islamist ones, because those guys will kill you. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, we've got a little terrorism comedy there. We have our best-selling cultural correspondent Michael Knowles is here to talk to us about one of the weirdest battles in the gender wars. And of course, we're going to be talking about the failure of the healthcare reform. But first, we have to welcome a brand new sponsor. Hooray! Can I get a hooray? Not come something. Come on. All right. Stamps.com. See, here's the thing. People hate the post office, and they're always running down the post office. I actually like the post office. I think the post office does a great job of delivering zillions of pieces of mail and getting most of them there on time pretty quickly. I just don't want to go to the post office. I don't want to wait online at the post office. And in the old days, I worked at a business and we had one of those, what do they call those, stamp machines that they would give you, and the thing is weighs 15 tons and it's expensive and all this stuff. Stamps.com is the solution to all these problems, because Stamps.com brings the post office into your computer. You can sit at your computer. It's so convenient. You sit at your computer, you can print the stamps you want. Just get them right off your computer. Off they come. You subscribe to the service. It's not that expensive. And you can get a stamp for any package, labels, all this stuff. And they'll even send you paper so it'll stick on. Or you can just print it right onto the envelope itself. It's really an easy service. So, the reason I use it is because I just can't stop in the middle of the day and drive to the post office, much as I love them, can't drive to the post office and wait on that line with the guy who's actually, like a schizophrenic talking to himself and is suddenly going to turn and hurt everybody around him. So instead, Stamps.com, you get to stay home at your desk. You do it. Right now, you can do it with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitment. So you can actually, that's important, right? They send you the scale so you can weigh the mail in your own home and know exactly how much you need to put on it. If you go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Klavan. I'm not sure how you spell that. Oh, wait, I am. It's Klavan. Stamps.com, and enter Klavan, Stamps.com, and you never have to go to the post office again, which really is convenient. Nice sponsor. I like that sponsor. All right, so here's what I wrote on Friday when the healthcare bill failed, writing at PJ Media, where I have my Klavan on the Culture column. I fear that conservatives may have erred. The president has never shown himself to be a reliable philosophical conservative. He often seems guided to go where he is loved and work with those who are nice to him. He clearly is committed to the concept of winning. If the president now finds himself humiliated by the conservative leadership, unable to work with Republicans on the Hill, many conservatives may find they have paved the way toward an essentially left-wing presidency. I fear this may be the end result of the failure of the health care bill, a Washington in which Donald Trump can find more love on the left than on the right, more chance of winning through leftism than through conservatism. That was Friday. Here's the Wall Street Journal headline today. White House opens door to Democrats in wake of health bill failure. Move signals Trump administration is fed up with many factions in House Republican conference. And Trump is also tweeting against the Freedom Caucus, the conservatives who basically shot down the bill. So I know what you're saying. How does Klavan do that? How does he say, the guy's like a prophet. He's like, he's like that kid in The Sixth Sense who sees dead people, except he just looks into the future and sees things that aren't going to happen. So the reason is that I'm just a practical realist. My attitude is different. My attitude is admittedly different to those who want to live and die on the hill of principle and the hill of righteousness. I love my country. I want to do the best thing for my country at any given moment. That's what love looks like to me. Sometimes love tastes like a crap sandwich, okay? You could make a little mug that says that. Sometimes love tastes like a crap sandwich. I didn't love voting for Donald Trump. I did not love voting for Donald Trump. There were exactly two choices. One was Hillary Clinton, who I thought actually was wicked and would have marked the end of the American experiment. One was Donald Trump, who is unreliable if you're a conservative, right? Some people aren't conservative and like Trump. They're populist. They want to keep all the entitlements and all that stuff. Great. Then he's a perfect candidate. For me, the guy is to the left of me, and he's not a reliable conservative, a lifelong Democrat. So how do you then deal with it? For a moment, because Trump goes where he's loved, and because all this love was coming from the conservative side, for a moment we had a chance to get that agenda going. And it's still, this chance is not totally destroyed. But I think on this first big thing, the first big thing that was his legislative accomplishment, you don't just give him everything he wants all day long for the rest of his term, but on the first big thing, I would have given him a win. I would not have stood on my righteousness. I would have given him the win and hoped the Senate made it into a better bill. It wasn't a great bill. It was not a great bill. Everybody knew it wasn't. But let's take a look. Here's Trump right in the aftermath, and he puts it on the Democrats that we're stuck with Obamacare, which is what he's going to sell.
We were very close. It was a very, very tight margin. We had no Democrat support. We had no votes from the Democrats. They weren't going to give us a single vote, so it's a very difficult thing to do. I've been saying for the last year and a half that the best thing we can do, politically speaking, is let Obamacare explode. It is exploding right now. It's many states have big problems. Almost all states have big problems. I was in Tennessee the other day, and they've lost half of their state in terms of an insurer. They have no insurer, and that's happening to many other places. I was in Kentucky the other day, and similar things are happening. So Obamacare is exploding with no Democrat support. We couldn't quite get there. We're just a very small number of votes short in terms of getting our bill passed. A lot of people don't realize how good our bill was because they were viewing phase one, but when you add phase two, which was mostly the signings of Secretary Price, who's behind me, and you add phase three, which I think we would have gotten, it became a great bill.
See, I I agree that he would have gotten phase two because obviously that was stuff that just needed a pen and a phone, and not even a phone, actually. But I don't think they would have ever gotten to stage three. Now, so first he slaps the Democrats around, right? First he says, you stuck us with this bill, all your fault, you wouldn't help us change it. And then he reaches out to them. Here's the second cut.
Again, I think what will happen is Obamacare, unfortunately, will explode. It's going to have a very bad year. Last year, you had over 100% increases in various places. In Arizona, I understand it's going up very rapidly again, like it did last year. Last year was 116%. Many places, 50, 60, 70%. I guess it averaged, whatever the average was, very, very high. And this year should be much worse for Obamacare. So what would be really good with no Democrat support, if the Democrats, when it explodes, which it will soon, if they got together with us and got a real health care bill, I'd be totally open to it, and I think that's going to happen. I think the losers are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, because now they own Obamacare. They own it, 100% own it.
So basically, he's trying to scare. The one thing, by the way, the good news here is it's not just the Freedom Caucus who's going to stand on their principles. The Democrats are too stupid to respond to this. I mean, Chuck Schumer has built his fortress. He's not coming around. I don't think there's anything there. I think Trump is, and Trump knows it. I think he's basically trying to scare the conservative straight, basically. He's trying to say, you work with me, you're going to have to work with me, or else I reach out to the Democrats, which I'm not sure is an actual possibility. All right, so who's to blame? There's blame to go around. I think there's blame to go around. I mean, first of all, I think Trump didn't care about this, and he pushed Ryan to just get something done because he wants to get to tax reform. And by the way, this is another problem with this. This bill did cut $1.2 trillion in government spending, which makes tax reform a doddle, right? I mean, then you can do tax reform any way you want, right? Because you've got all this money that's not being spent. So that's all the money that you can take out of the tax system until maybe the tax cuts cause there to be more money coming in. Now you don't have that ceiling. So now, the guys like Paul Ryan, they want a neutral tax cut, an income neutral tax cut. Makes it a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to find that kind of money just lying around in the sofa in Washington. That's one thing. So Trump pushed Ryan. Ryan moved too quickly. I mean, there is just no question that Ryan moved too quickly. But basically, he did this in secret. He didn't bring everybody together. He didn't get the consensus first. That would have taken too much time. He let Trump rush him. After all, it's Ryan's, one of the things, I'm an actual fan of Ryan, but I think he screwed the pooch. I mean, I think that's basically it. I think Ryan did screw the pooch on this. And I think that he basically thought that Trump would bring the guys around. He thought Trump would do his deal-making thing, but I don't think Trump cared enough to do it. And he just didn't get the consensus he needed because it would have taken too long. It would have taken too long to get everybody together. So that was a problem. Here's Ryan afterwards. He just looks like basically he's been hit by a bowling ball.
I will not sugarcoat this. This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. All of us, myself included. We will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment, what we could have done to do it better. But ultimately, this all kind of comes down to a choice. Are all of us willing to give a little to get something done? Are we willing to say yes to the good, to the very good, even if it's not the perfect? Because if we're willing to do that, we still have such an incredible opportunity in front of us. There remains so much that we can do to help improve people's lives, and we will. Because I got to tell you, that's why I'm here. And I know it's why every member of this conference is here, to make this a better country. We want American families to feel more confident in their lot in life. We want the next generation to know that, yes, the best days of this country are still ahead of us. I'm really proud of the bill that we produced. It would make a dramatic improvement in our healthcare system and provide relief by people hurting under Obamacare. And what's probably most troubling is the worst is yet to come with Obamacare.
one kind word for Ryan. I always feel that, conservatives always hate the Speaker of the House. They hate the Speaker of the House because he's wrangling cats. You forget that a lot of the people in the House are moderates. This is it's a center-right country, right? It's not a far-right country. And so a lot of the people that he's dealing with are moderates. And as he made compromises with the Freedom Caucus for conservatives, he was losing the moderates. He was losing, he's bookended in. So conservatives always hate the Speaker of the House because he's a wrangler, and that's not what we want. We want people of principle to stand up and shake their fist and all that stuff. Totally understandable. But I will say on his behalf that he was dealing with a president who promised everyone would be covered, right? Because the president has Democrat tendencies this way. He was dealing with moderates, and he was dealing with an absolutely intransigent Freedom Caucus, who I do think has to take some of the blame, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but we got to cut away from Facebook and YouTube. Come on over to thedailywire.com to hear the best-selling cultural correspondent Michael Knowles discuss really weird gender stuff, which is just something he does. It's kind of strange. And also, if you just come over and subscribe, you don't have to do this. You can watch the whole show on the site itself. And if you subscribe are we still giving away Knowles' book? For an annual subscriber, it's a lousy $8 a month, and you still get Knowles' completely blank book with no words in it. So not only do you get a book, it's easy to read.